There's so much to do in private practice and so many resources and trainings and things like that to focus on that we've brought it all together for you for a totally free event starting March 11th and going till March 14th. Level Up Week 2024 is coming up, and I want you to save that date. We have some amazing panels we're planning where we're bringing together people that have started a private practice, people that have started a group practice, and people that are rocking out mega group practices. Also, we're going to have some amazing keynotes and some trainings that are on very practical things. There's no need for you to bounce between Facebook groups wondering, is this advice good? What should I do next? I don't even know of the 50 things that I need to be working on what I should do first. Instead, come to Level Up Week. It's totally free. You can be on the early bird list over at practiceofthepractice.com/level up to get all the early notifications for when we open up registration. So again, that's practiceofthepractice.com/level up. This is the Practice of the Practice podcast with Joe Sanok, session number 957. I'm Joe Sanok, your host, and welcome to the Practice of the Practice podcast, where we are covering all those things that have to do with the business of private practice, the mindsets, the clinical issues, everything that we see that you need around private practice. Whether you're just getting started in a solo practice or have a mega 7-figure group practice, we have things for you. Throughout December and January, we opened up our applications for the 7-Figure Practice Club. That's our newest program for people that have 7-figure practices. Also, we have lots of different things to help you out, whether you're in solo or group practice. Today, I am really excited. I have Chellie Phillips with me, and Chellie's an international best-selling author and speaker and is full of Southern sass and on a mission to help leaders build a workplace culture designed for both employee and business success. Her work is in the public relations field and has been recognized with numerous state and national awards over its 25-year lifespan. Chellie, welcome to the Practice of the Practice podcast.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited about this conversation today.
Yeah. Well, first, I would love to hear, your main focus in kind of public relations, helping people, burnout, all these different areas. You have so many skills. I know you and I talked about maybe burnout being the big thing we focus on today, but before we even get into that, tell me a little bit about how you got to this point in your career.
Yeah, so for years and years, I got my start in journalism, and that's where I really got really honed in on the fact that people's stories are what makes them important and really paying attention to how people got to where they are, like what led them down the path that they've taken, what were the decisions that they evaluated, and why did they choose to do these things. And so I think it made me a really good listener right out of the gate. And so moving into that out of journalism, I went into corporate PR. And so again, it's all about storytelling. It's about telling the story of the company or the product or the service that we're marketing at that point in time. But it's also about showing value. And then I had, what I call one of those kick in the pants moments in life is like, I got a sucky boss. And I had been at a location after about 20 years. And at that point in time, you feel like you're solidified in your career. You've grown up with everybody there. You're vested in all the benefit programs and that kind of thing. And then all of a sudden it changes. You go from feeling like you have a voice and feeling valued to why am I even here anymore? And so it caused me to really reevaluate and really think about how important it is and how quickly one person can make you doubt whether you do have value and whether your skills and experience are even necessary in the workplace anymore. And, I would have told you a long time ago is that I'm not a person that doubts self confidence or, lacks it or has ever really worried about that. But within a matter of 6 months, because the person was someone in charge and someone that my paycheck was dependent upon, it really made me question, do I still have the abilities to do this job? Am I still providing something of value here? And so it really made me focus my switch onto workplace culture at that point in time. and how important it is for us to consider the people that are in the workplace and how our interactions with them as leaders, owners, CEOs of those companies, team managers, whatever that position of authority is, how much it can impact them in their day-to-day life.
Hmm. Now, being that you work with so many business owners, and that's primarily who's listening, what should they be aware of right now in regards to workplace culture, burnout? Making sure that they don't make those kind of mistakes that your previous employers made.
Yeah, so the one thing I think is mental health is something that's now more talked about than it used to be. It's part of the conversation that we're having. And burnout, stress, feeling overwhelmed, you know, if you're having conversations with your employees on a regular basis, if you're getting their input, if you're making sure they understand the why behind things, you're going to be able to keep a lot of that from happening and creeping into that, which means you're going to have a more satisfied employee. You're going to have someone who wants to stay so that you're not fighting the retention or the attraction issues in the organization. And, they're going to be a more productive employee as well because they're happier being there. And I think, one of the key things with building a strong workplace culture is that we're able to create that sense of belonging. And people really do want to feel like they belong somewhere, that they have an impact somewhere, that they are valued for that. And so by creating that sense of belonging, you're creating a much healthier work environment. Which means they're also not going to be using your benefits as much. You're not going to have absenteeism. And so it's going to make you a more profitable practice or a more profitable organization when you do start focusing on this side of your employees.
Mm. Now, I imagine most therapists that are running a business, a lot of this would be unintentional. What are some of maybe the red flags or yellow flags that would indicate to practice owners that maybe the staff and the employees aren't as happy or as solid as maybe they think they are?
Yeah, so, take the temperature of the office is one of the things. Like, make sure you're out of your office, that you're actually talking to the employees. Are they happy to see you when you come up? Are they sharing with you things that are happening? Are they coming to you for advice, or are they talking about things that have gone well? Do they participate in the things that you offer for them to take advantage of? Some of those are just real simple things. Are people smiling? I know that sounds kind of simple, but when people are happy and they're comfortable where they are, they generally have a pleasant expression about them. Are they engaging with each other? Is there small talk happening in the break room? Are they stopping and having conversations in the hall? That means they truly have created relationships in the workplace and they feel like they belong and they feel like they are part of a larger group. And so that's something really simple that you can start out of the gate. Look at your employees when they come in the office. A lot of us now have gone back to the office. We're not just teleworking anymore or anything like that. And so is everybody sitting in their car till 3 minutes until it's time for the doors to open and then making mad dash and they all look like they'd rather stayed in bed that morning? Or are they coming in and they're having conversation and they're actually exuding the type of energy that you want them to be able to pass on to clients to make sure that everyone is satisfied with the interaction that they're having? The
Mm.
other thing I would really say is the important thing to do is not to forget that we are all human, and that when your employees know up front that you're going to be honest with them, that you understand that not everything is going to go perfect, that you have that empathy, that you have that compassion for the day that the dog wouldn't cooperate, the kids weren't ready to go to school, that there was car trouble, that there were all these things happening that all added into the fact that I was 20 minutes late to work, or whatever the reason or or thing that we're struggling with happens, that you understand, as long as this is not a repeated behavior of something that happens continually, that you make them feel like I am human too. I understand that life happens and throws us curveballs sometimes. You're providing that empathy, you're providing that compassion. It's going to make them feel like it's a safe place to work, where it's someplace that I can actually have conversations with people who are in leadership positions so that they actually engage with me on a human level and not just employee boss relationship.
Mm. Now, with a decentralized staff, I know more and more therapists are having virtual assistants. They have, different teams that are maybe doing billing that aren't local, or maybe even part of other companies that they're subcontracting, that it can start to be a lot of plates that are spinning. How would you apply a lot of those things you just talked about that tend to be maybe more unique to in person? How would you apply that virtually to telehealth, or to having a decentralized team?
Yeah, so I think it boils down to really having clear lines of communications between you, your coworkers, your employees, and it's almost like making them feel like whether it's virtual or whether it's in person, that they have an open door to you, so that just because someone may not be making a face-to-face encounter with you, you still are having conversations with them. You're still including them, in email chains, or you're still reaching out them through all the different apps that we have now to make sure everybody's on the same page, or where projects stand, or how we're going with things. But it's about making that extra effort, especially if you're not face to face with someone, to make them feel included and make them feel like they have a sense that they understand what's happening, what needs to be valued or prioritized, and how am I contributing to the success of this organization.
Mm. Going in network with insurance can be tough. I know when I took insurance, there were long wait times and it was so confusing. Filing all the right paperwork is time consuming and tedious. And even after you're done, it can take months to get credentialed and start seeing clients. That's why Alma makes it easy and financially rewarding to accept insurance. When you join their insurance program, you can get credentialed within 45 days and access enhanced reimbursement rates with major payers. They also handle all of the paperwork from eligibility checks to claim submissions and guarantee payment within 2 weeks of each appointment. Once you've joined Alma's insurance program, you can see clients in your state of licensure, regardless of where you're working from. It's amazing to know that you can be fully online. Learn more about building a thriving practice with Alma at helloalma.com/Joe. That's hello, ALMA.com/Joe to get started. Now, when we're looking at burnout, talk to us a little bit about burnout. So we talked kind of workplace culture, but I know that burnout's a specialty area of yours. What are you seeing in companies, especially it being February, a new year? What should people be thinking about in regards to burnout and keeping employees and contractors happy and connected in their roles?
Yeah, so, the first thing is to make sure that things are not a surprise. At the first of the year, you've generally had year end evaluations, and people may be expecting, I'm getting a certain raise, or I'm going to get a new title, or I'm going to get a new set of responsibilities, or, any of those kind of things. But making sure that people are not surprised by anything, that you've been very clear about what they can expect in the coming year, what their roles are, what they can expect to be paid, any of those kind of things that you can do is a priority in making sure, because anytime people feels like their paycheck could be in jeopardy, or they might not be able to provide the way that they want to provide for a family, or for loved ones, or for themselves, then that's going to be an added stressor. So making sure the first of the year that we know the priorities of the organization, we know the behaviors that we're expecting, and that things that are going to be looked for, and we also know, how is my job changing? Is it changing? And if so, what does that look like as far as compensation and the benefits that are going to be going hand in hand with that? The other thing is that, we spend, I think, like the last number is like 90,000 hours of our life working. And, having productive conversations with our employees, not just at evaluation time, is extremely critical. So, what is it that they're wanting to get out of this workplace relationship? Is it advancement? Is it, I want training to be able to develop new skills, new opportunities? Is it, I want someone to tap me for special projects? Or are there certain specialties that I want to be able to pursue and work into? Whenever we can work an employee's goal in with the organizational goal, that's going to be something that helps that burnout as well. Because when people feel like they're continually learning and that they're being invested in, that helps get rid of that feeling of I'm doing the same tedious things over and over, or I'm encountering the same problems over and over again, or I'm filling out the same form. It really helps counter that when they feel like there's something new on the horizon that they can get excited about.
Mm. Now, take us through maybe some of those habits that you think effective organizations do in regards to annual reviews, raises, those kind of goals and discussions.
Sure. One of the things that I really think is important is that everyone is on the same page about the values that the organization or the company is going to exhibit. And I get this is different than having a mission statement or something like that, because to me, a value is something that you can assign a behavior to. So if I'm going to say that being honest in our relationships or being transparent in our relationships is a value that I stress on, I can actually assign behaviors that show that. So if you do these things, then that means that we're being transparent and honest with each other. And so when you sit down and you have a conversation with your team, and you really start to think about how do we want to show up every day, and we assign behaviors once we've determined these are the 5 things that we're going to agree on, that this is what we're going to focus on this year, then everybody's on the same page in the starting place. And I think that's a great thing to do at a review time. Not so much focusing on the task that we do every day, but what is the value of our organization? Do we want to improve our customer service? Do we want to improve referrals? Do we want to improve our internal relationships with each other, our communications, whatever it is? What are the values that we have to be able to do those things? Doing your job becomes a secondary part of that evaluation to me at that point in time, because you wouldn't have hired them to begin with if they didn't have the skills necessary to perform the function that you were putting them in. So, if they have the skills, then what we're wanting to do is actually tweak that and make sure that they're showing up and using them in a way that is most effective for not only them, but for also for our company as well, so that we can continue to have those referrals and we continue to be profitable in what we're doing. And when you get involvement from your whole group, everybody at that point in time has buy-in because they have felt heard. And then when you settle on the group of values that you're going to say we're going to assign behaviors to, then everybody has said, yes, I've had input. And yes, we agree that we're all on the same page, that these are important things that we should be doing in this area. And then that also makes it something that's very trackable, and you can use those behaviors that you've assigned to that, whether it is I'm going to do a weekly check-in if it's communications. One of the things I do with my team is on Monday mornings I have them do a check-in with me, and they'll tell me, here's the top 5 things I'm going to be working on this week, here's anything that's carrying over from the week before, here's a great win I had so that we can have something that we can celebrate as a team together, or here's something that I need your help with. I've not been able to do this because I need you to step in and help me achieve X, Y, and Z. Helps me plan my week. It helps me know what my team's going to do. And then it allows me towards the end of the week on Thursday to reach back out and say, hey, this is what you told me we're doing. How did this go? Here's what I was able to find for you to help you achieve something that you were missing out on before. You needed a piece of information or you needed someone to step up and pull their part. I've accomplished that for you. How did it go? And if there's anything that I need them to be thinking about for the upcoming week, I can put that in there. And that works for whether you have a remote team or whether you have an in person team. And it's something that keeps everybody online. And you can use that format as you're building those values and those behaviors and say, are we doing our check ins? And then that's something that you can use very tangible at your evaluation times to say, hey, I got 95% of your weekly turn ins. I appreciate the effort. It kept me up to date on what you were doing as a team member.
Mm. Yeah, I think that organization of being able to think through like what is the team working on, checking in on it, looking at KPIs, often isn't the first nature of most therapist. It's definitely second. It's not first thing. I said that wrong. It doesn't come easily to them,
Uh-huh.
where they're used to in therapy often kind of figuring it out as you go and trusting the process. But then that idea of we need to set some clear goals, some clear expectations. Where are you at with things? Sometimes they feel like that's so rigid, and that they don't want to be maybe even that organized. What would you say to people that push back on that? That say that just feels so rigid and so corporate. I don't know if I want that in my practice. Like, what would you say to them?
So I would tell you that I don't think it makes you very rigid. What I think that makes you is very team oriented and makes you very people focused. People like to know what the expectations that their manager, their owner, their CEO has of them. It allows them to be very clear on what do I have to produce to be seen as successful inside this organization. So you're doing it and it becomes a service to your employee. And I think that's how you look at it when people feel that they have the chance to be heard, when they have to be recognized for what they're doing, then I think you're going to see a much larger benefit than for the fact that I need to change up my leadership style a little bit, and it feels very rigid that I'm having people check in with me or do these kind of things. I think you're going to see is that it actually frees up your time as that leader, as that team sponsor, whatever you want to call yourself in that role, in that you're no longer assuming that you know what's happening and maybe miss something, or that you're not missing anything that's taking place that you might need to get ahead of before it becomes a problem, because people are being free with sharing the information with you. And it really is about having that one-on-one conversation with people. It's about asking questions. It's about you know getting people comfortable with the ideal of sharing. So if they are struggling with something that, they're not fearing repercussion or worrying about that they might be perceived as not doing their work the right way or whatever. Because if you're asking and you have this open line of communications going, then people are going to feel much more at ease, which means they're going to do a much better job at their job communicating with other people. And they're also going to be much more willing to take that feedback to improve in the ways that they're working. And it doesn't say that you have to change how you're having your appointments or your interactions with your patients or with your customers. What it is it's like I'm taking the business side out of it and make it really easy to handle. And then I get to focus all my time and energy on being the best therapist or the best partner for someone that I can to help them achieve what they want to achieve.
Hmm. Well, the last question that I always ask is, if every private practitioner in the world were listening right now, what would you want them to know?
So it really is all about the people. And I think, in this profession, you're more attuned to that than probably some in corporate America might be, because you're used to listening and seeing the small signals, and you understand how that showing the people the why is always important as the how. And so if you take that and you twist it to the way that you run your organization, I think you're going to see that it provides a direct benefit not only to the satisfaction that your employees have, but also to the care that your clients receive.
So awesome. Well, if people want to connect with you, if they want to get your free ebook, tell us about that ebook and where they can pick it up.
Yeah, so you can check out at my website. It's chellyphillips.com /flying dash solo. And it's all about simple things that you can do inside your organization to create a better workplace culture, which means that we're all going to be more happier, we're going to be engaged, and we're going to enjoy showing up and doing what we do. And the thing I really like about this ebook, and I hope that you take away from it, is that culture is not something that has to start in a leadership position. It can start one on one. You can impact your coworker, you can impact the people that you're around, and it's something that can spread throughout the organization. But I do hope, as leaders that are listening to this, or as owners and CEOs of practices, that you take a hard look at culture, because the things that are in here that can be done one on one can totally be expanded and actually can be implemented across an organization as well.
Well, Chellie, thank you so much for being on the Practice of the Practice podcast.
Thanks for having me. It's been a great chat.
Well, I would love to hear how it's going in your private practice in regards to leadership, growing your team, all of that. If you're in any of our communities, we're going to be starting conversations in there about more and more podcast topics. So feel free to start those conversations or jump into those conversations in Next Level Practice, Group Practice Launch, Group Practice Boss, and Audience Building Academy. Those are all of our membership communities that are in there. Thank you also to our sponsor. We could not do this show without today's sponsor, which is Alma. Alma makes it so much easier in private practice to take away all of those challenges that we face, such as building your caseload, attracting clients who are the right fit, managing that business side of your practice, and navigating insurance. They get you credentialed in 45 days and help you access enhanced reimbursement rates with major payers. You can learn more if you head on over to helloalma.com/Joe. That's hello, ALMA.com/Joe to get started. Thank you so much for letting me into your ears and into your brain. Have a great day. I'll talk to you soon. Special thanks to the band Silence is Sexy for that intro music, and this podcast is designed to provide accurate and authoritative information in regard to the subject matter covered. It is given with the understanding that neither the host, the producers, the publishers, or guests are rendering legal, accounting, clinical, or other professional information. If you want a professional, you should find one.